Well, in this video, I will be discussing regarding Feynman I epsilon prescription. So, we have seen that this Feynman propagator, that is this delta fx minus y. So, the Feynman propagator was shown as the time ordering of the fields phi x and phi y. So, and this amplitude, and we saw that if x0 is greater, so the time ordering will keep the fields as phi x and phi y, and this is like a particle propagation from y to x. And similarly we saw that if the y0 part is greater, then the time ordering will make this thing phi y phi x, and it will be a particle propagation from x to y. And in that sense, this Feynman propagator was introduced, that was this particular quantity where dx minus y is a propagator, or it is a amplitude of propagation of particle. Like what it means is this particular thing, and it was given by this particular integral. Now we saw in the previous video that the Feynman propagator can be written in terms of this integral, but only this integral is not sufficient. We need the contour around which we are integrating. But then we discussed that there is another method of representing this Feynman propagator completely in terms of integral, but with a I epsilon in denominator, such that Feynman propagator is the limit epsilon tending to 0 of this integral. So there is a limit before this integral sign. There will always be a limit where we will take epsilon tending to 0, and I have omitted that limit here, but that limit is always there. So epsilon is a very, very small number, epsilon greater than 0, and limit epsilon tending to 0. Now let's see why is it at all true that this and this are same. So what we do is we do a contour integration of this particular integral, this cloud, and for this let's break this denominator into two poles. So here you see P0, this particular composition and this particular composition, where epsilon is also tending to 0, epsilon prime also tends to 0, and epsilon prime is greater than 0. If I do this particular composition, if we solve this multiply term by term, and then if we ignore the epsilon prime square term, and as epsilon prime is very small, we denote this entire term as I epsilon. We see that this and this are same. So in other words, I can factorize this denominator into two roots. So this is one root and this is another root. So in terms of the Feynman propagator integral that we had previously, what we have done is, earlier we had roots here and here, and now we have shifted the roots. We have shifted the roots by epsilon in the imaginary axis. So this is omega minus I epsilon, and this is omega plus I epsilon. Now there is no poles in the real axis for this integral. Now when we start integrating, what we do is we take the contour. It goes like this, but now still in this case even what we will write is that the complexified integral, the contour integral of the complexified function, is an arc plus the real axis integral. The real axis integral is the Feynman propagator, but now I need to kill the arc. So to kill that arc term, I have to close the contour in one direction or other. Now as the argument we have e power minus I p dot x. It is the fact that x0 greater than y0. We discussed it in the previous video that if this happens, the contour closes below. Even in this case also this happens, and the contour closes below, and exactly I get a contribution from this root, that is omega minus I epsilon. And if this is for x0 greater than y0. If x0 is less than y0, the contour closes above, and I get a contribution from the root omega plus I epsilon. So we see the epsilon procedure, and at last when we will set epsilon to be 0, we can already see that it is exactly giving the result for a contour that will be of this form, if the epsilon was not taken into account. So this procedure is nicely crafted to give this result. But now we can, using this procedure, we can see something more. That is, let's try to see. So earlier, if you have the imaginary axis P0 and the real axis P0. So 0 must be above in this case. And if you just take, suppose, this integral, this particular integral, this integral, without any contour, this integral means I have a pole here and here. Now what I can do is, I have already seen that if I choose a contour that passes the poles in this fashion, here is a pole, here is a pole, this part, then this is giving rise to the Feynman propagator. But only looking at this integral, I could have said that I transverse my contour in this particular direction, or I transverse my contour in this particular direction, or I even transverse my contour in this particular direction. So I can say all of these are valid. But now you see, this has given rise to the Feynman propagator. Similarly, if I transverse the contour in this particular direction, you see the contour will again need to close, and for x0 greater than y0, I am seeing that the contour is closing below, and I am getting contribution from both the poles. So this particular kind of transversing of contour is the example which gives us something like this. For x0 greater than y0, I am having two contribution. If we solve this, we get this. And for y0 greater than x0, I will get 0, which is quite obvious, because for y0 greater than x0, the contour will close above and there will be no poles that will be inside the contour. So this particular function is called the retarded Green's function. You will see why it is Green's function, or it is a retarded propagator. So this is one of them, and you see this is precisely this upper part is precisely the commutator of phi x comma phi y. And now, so we have discussed this contour, this is Feynman propagator, this contour, this is retarded propagator or delta r. Now let's look at this contour. Now when x0 is greater than y0, again it will close below, but there is no route that it will encompass. So this contour will give us 0 for x0 greater than y0, and we come to something called as advanced propagator or advanced Green's function. So this is particular delta A, and this contour, this last contour that you see, for this part it will close below and it will give contribution from a route that is opposite to the route that we had for the Feynman propagator. So it is in some sense, it looks similar to the Feynman propagator, but what it does is it reverses the order. So for x0 greater than y0, I will get this part, and vice versa for this part. So we will not discuss this last contour because it doesn't hold any significant insight. But we have a set of 3 contours. And now if we remember the fact that the Feynman propagator could have been written, instead of specifying the contour, the epsilon factor, there is a hint that these both guys should also be written in that fashion. So, and indeed we see that is true. So you see this delta A, it is written in this particular kind of an epsilon format, where we have always the limit epsilon tending to 0 always. But you see again delta R is written limit epsilon tending to 0, P0 plus I epsilon. So now what is it doing is that suppose you have the axis and you have the Feynman propagator contour like this. The epsilon prescription is shifting this here and this here. It's like rebounding the poles from the cups. Similarly, if you have the suppose this particular contour, which is for the retarded Green's function, the Feynman prescription will rebound these both, and I will get roots like this. Similarly, for the advanced, they will go up towards the positive side of the real axis. So they will come somewhere here. So in this video, we saw the definition or description of advanced and retarded Green's function. And we also saw the I epsilon prescription and how it encodes the contour choice within it. And we saw that there are various choices of contours possible, and each choice gives a different kind of function. One important thing now is, you see, this particular function, which is the advanced Green's function, if we suppose look at a light cone fixed at a point y, so it looks something like this. Now what you can see is that for all time intervals that is greater than y, this is 0, but for less than y naught, it is non-zero. So these contours kind of tell us the past of the particle. It's like if the particle is at y, the signal can only come from the past part, because the x0 always needs to be less. So these contours are, these functions are important while probing the past of a particle. Whereas in a retarded contour case, if I draw a light cone in y0, for all points that is futuristic to that point, it will only give a signal propagation. So in that sense, this contour is important to probe the future of a particle. So what is this probing? We will see soon. In some sense, it helps in solving the inhomogeneous Klein-Gordon equation. So that's all for this video.